Thank you for watching WISD TV. My name is Dale Caffey. It is not every day that a high school graduating class celebrates its 70th class reunion. That's right, 7-0. But that's exactly what's going to happen on April the 25th, 2013, when the Waco High School Tiger class, the famous class of 1943, gathers for the last time. I'm with Milton Wilson. He's part of this famous graduating class from 1943, and you're rather proud of your class, and justifiably so. Milton, thank you so much for being here today. Congratulations for being able to gather for a final time, a 70th class reunion. That is remarkable. Talk about that.
Well, I'm so happy to be here, and I thank you for asking me. I am very, very proud of the class. We will have some that are there that will be in wheelchairs. We will have them on walkers and with canes. And I think, as I might have mentioned to you before, if there are any on gurneys, we'll have stretcher bearers there to bring them in and do it. As you said, it is our 70th reunion. We finished in 43. I was a midterm graduate in January, and then we had the May graduation and then the August graduation. And you can do the math. And so I am 87. We have a few that are 88, and the majority, I believe, are 86. So any of the women in the class of 43 who didn't want their age told, they've just been outed.
There you go. Well, take us back to 1943. We're in the middle of World War II. The world is really changing before your eyes. So take us back at what it was like to be in a high school graduating class of 1943.
We were officially a class of 495. We had a few more than that because some of the guys left before they graduated to go into the service, but officially 495. We were a very close-knit group because of the war. We had survived the Depression, and we were just getting on our feet when the war came along, and with that you had so much rationing, not only of food, but shoes and gasoline, and you couldn't buy a new car, you couldn't buy new tires. So with the car situation being what it is, there were a few in high school that had their own car, mainly jalopies, but very few, and therefore, for your weekend dating purposes, you always had to double or triple date. So you got to know a lot more people, a lot more intimately than you would have otherwise. We were fighting the war here at home. We were trying our best to help the guys in the service and to help America win. And through that closeness, that bonding of that time, I do feel that our Waco High class, as we said, the famous class of 43, given that name to us by Olin Runnels, the husband of one of our classmates, Dottie Waltrip. It made it a lot easier because we didn't feel like we were alone, that we were all together, we were pulling for the same cause. And we worked, it was an air of camaraderie, and we kept up daily with the reports of the war, and we were very active in scrap metal drives and selling war bonds and the war stamps. And a lot of the activities were curtailed. Our class, for example, the midterm graduating class, didn't have a senior day. The May class did have a senior day, but there was a lot that was curtailed because of the war. But one of my classmates, Bobby Braswell, made the most perfect statement, I believe. He said, in spite of the war, in spite of the Depression, we lived in the best of times, and we did.
Right, and you didn't have many, if none of the things really that young people have today. You talked about that a moment ago. Number one, no television. So you made your own entertainment in the evenings, on weekends, and you didn't have the cell phones, obviously. Many didn't even have phones in their house, I would imagine. No. So you went without a lot, but you didn't know you didn't have it.
Well, as we discussed, yes, we were so fortunate in that we did not have any peer pressure. we were all in the same boat. Having come out of the Depression, everyone was trying to get back on their feet. So we didn't have, as you said, television. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have designer clothes. You didn't have the latest car, computers, all of this sort of thing. We were all in the same boat. I couldn't say, well, if Dale has it, why can't I have it? Well, Dale didn't have it either. So we were all in that same boat. A majority of us did not have air conditioning. If you had an oscillating fan, you felt very lucky. Many times we would sleep outside, take a blanket out and sleep outside, or wet the sheets a little bit before you would go to bed because of good old Texas heat. Although I feel at that time, in regards to the heat, it wasn't as humid then as it is now. The humidity is so bad now. I don't know if it's due to the expansion of the lake or more people watering their lawns or what, but it did make a difference.
Talk about that building on Columbus Avenue. It still exists today, thankfully, and it's now apartments.
Yes, yes.
But that was a grand old building, and a lot of great activity happened inside that building.
Well, of course, the memories that go back. I started in January of 1940. I had, as I mentioned, I had gone to Sanger Avenue for the first 6 grades, and then to West Junior for the junior high years of the 7th and 8th grade, and went to Waco High for 9, 10, and 11. And in the fall of 1941, WISD instituted the 12th grade. I have asked everyone I know why they started with the 12th grade, and no one has been able to give me an answer. I personally feel like it was possibly because students were graduating from high school at age 16, and they were really too young for college. But anyway, that started in September of 41. I started, as I said, in January of 40. So there were a lot of people like Bill Logue, some of the others that were he was class of 41, but there were a number from the class of 40 that I knew who they were, but I didn't know them. And you would meet every morning at the front of the building on the front steps and sort of get caught up on what was going on today. And they had the cafeteria in the basement, but no one ever ate in the cafeteria. They always went to Charlie Lugo's for chili, or they would go to Joe's hamburger place at 10th and Columbus. You get a nickel hamburger, a nickel Coke, and a nickel ice cream sundae. So you could have lunch for 15 cents. And in the old Goldstein McGill building down on 6th and Austin, on the main floor, they had a lunch counter with plate lunches, which were wonderful. Walgreens at the corner of the Liberty building across the street had a lunch counter. Woolworth had a lunch counter. And there were places all over. So very few really ate in the cafeteria downstairs. And so when you went up the stairs, so you'd call it basically, I guess the first floor was the principal's office and some classrooms. But they had a very large study hall. When we recently went back to have a meeting there, it looked almost like a closet, and we used to think of it as Carlsbad Cavern. It was so big, and strangely the steps going up, the tread is very small. We had smaller feet then, I guess, but they're very small for adults to go up and down. But we had study hall that you would attend at least 1 hour a day generally, and your classes were spread out. We had wonderful teachers. The education that we received, there's not enough money today to be able to buy it. They were dedicated teachers, and we all wanted to learn. We all felt like our key to success was by getting an education. And we were very competitive. It was a healthy competitiveness. We wanted each other to do well, but you wanted to do a little bit better. You wanted to be the best if you possibly could. So it was fun to try and do that.
Now, you mentioned you went to Sanger Heights Elementary for the early years.
Right.
And your principal was?
Nina Glass, in her red dress and the big bell.
Famous name in Waco.
Oh, yeah, out there ringing that bell every morning to get in. Oh, yeah. And as I mentioned, Sanger Avenue has burned. West Junior has been torn down and made an elementary school. Waco High is now an apartment complex. I'm just wondering if they're going to do anything to Baylor University. That would be interesting to see.
Great. Well, let's talk a little bit about, since you're here, I want to talk about your experiences in high school in particular. And one of the things you cherish a lot was being a cheerleader.
Oh, I did. I was a cheerleader at West Junior, and I was a cheerleader in my senior year at Waco High in the fall of '42. There were 8 of us, 4 guys and 4 girls, and of the girls, 2 are still living. Martha Gale, who lives in Houston, and Peggy O'Brien Norris, who lives in Arlington. And of the guys, Bill Oliver and Hal Stringer and myself live here in Waco, and Gene Dubose, who was our head cheerleader, lives in Fredericksburg. And we had the best time ever. We had 2 megaphones that we had to share between the 8 of us. They furnished our jackets and I believe the shirts. We had to furnish our own white pants and shoes, but we didn't do any of the gymnastics that they do today. My back hurts when I look at them thinking, there's no way, I don't believe that any of us could have been a cheerleader if we had done that. I was very active in the theater department, the Mask and Wig Club, and worked in all the fall productions and the spring productions, was in the senior class play. Very proud to say that I was with the one-act play contest for the Interscholastic League here in Texas, and in 1941 and in 1942, Waco High School won first place in state meet for the one-act play contest. They also went to, excuse me, they went to Austin for the state meet in '43. They didn't win, but B.B. Moore from the cast was awarded the Best Actress of 1943, which was, I think, quite remarkable for Waco High. I feel very proud of them for doing that. Bruce Roach was our director and remained a lifelong friend. I honestly feel that in all of my theater experience that I learned more from him in high school than I ever did with any other theatrical endeavor. He was just wonderful. And of course we had such teachers that I greatly admired as Martha Lushner in the math department and Lulu Strickland in the history department. And until their death, they all remained close friends, and we stayed in touch over all the years.
Wonderful. And you went on to use your theatrical experience at Waco High School in other places.
Yes.
Starting in California, but ending up in New York. Talk about that.
Well, yes. I thought as I mentioned to you earlier, I thought I was going to be God's gift to the movies, but God had other plans. I was in California for a while. I came back. I went into the service for a year, came back, finished at Baylor. I taught, was head of the drama department at McMurray College in Abilene for 6 months, and then I received an appointment to the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art in London. And I went there and received a scholarship, but couldn't take it because I would have lost my GI Bill with my subsistence. But had a wonderful year there, came back, worked for 3 years in Houston at the Old Alley Theater and the Four Arts Theater. And then I went to New York in the fall of '52. I was there until '62, doing mainly television, off-Broadway, summer stock, tours for the American Theater Wing, some modeling, but mainly television. And my main claim to fame with the television, I told you, even though I did over 200 shows in the 10 years I was there, but I like to say that my biggest thing was shaving the peach for Remington Rand on the show What's My Line? That was done every other week, and it was live. As I mentioned to you, everything at that time was live. There was nothing taped or filmed, and unfortunately, it's all gone. We don't have any record of it. It was an exciting time. It was known as the golden age of television. And it was exciting, and so many of the people that I worked with at that time did go on to be stars, and I was able to work with so many wonderful people. Judy Holliday, Mary Martin, Audrey Hepburn, Rue McClanahan. We became good friends, and I worked with Martha Ray, I think, for 4 years on her doing sketches on her shows, and Mary Martin, and just so many of them, and they were all just wonderful people. I did a tour with Helen Hayes, who was known as the First Lady of the American Theater in 1959, I believe that was.
Wow.
And then the rights to the longest running play in England, The Mousetrap by Agatha Christie, they secured the rights off Broadway, and that opened in the late fall of 60. And I came back from working with the San Juan Drama Festival, where I worked with Paulette Goddard and Walter Abel and Margaret O'Brien, and came back, and I went in as a replacement for Peter Donat in The Mousetrap. So I could say I was in the American premiere of The Mousetrap. Dreadful play, awful play. I offered to buy my way out if they'd let me. They wouldn't.
Well, you had the opportunity to meet many, many famous people throughout that career, and we were talking off camera a moment ago about something you referred to as a kiss on the cheek. Would you elaborate on what that's about?
Yes. That's a program that I enjoy doing. I was thinking about it, and it involves the famous women with whom I have worked or whom I have met, that at the end of the work period or at the end of the meeting kissed me on the cheek. And it was quite an illustrious group, starting with Norma Shearer, whom some of you might remember, might not. That was in 1949. But then it was Martha Ray and Paulette Goddard and Judi Dench, Dame Judi Dench to be correct, and Geraldine Page and Audrey Hepburn and Mary Martin and Rosemary Clooney and Rue McClanahan, as I mentioned, and Ingrid Bergman and Angela Lansbury, and my favorite of all, Vivian Leigh from Gone with the Wind.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Fabulous.
Some
So I haven't washed this cheek in a long time.
I don't blame you,
Long time.
especially with a lady like Audrey Hepburn, who I still recall in a movie called Wait Until Dark, I believe. What a lovely lady she was.
Well, let me tell you something. She was even nicer on the inside than she was on the outside. She was as you say, a lovely, lovely lady. Very generous, very kind, and very talented. And she never had an acting lesson. She had wanted to be a ballerina, and she was too tall, and she did a couple of just like walk-ons in movies, and the author Colette saw her at a French hotel one day and said, "That's the girl I want for my play Gigi." And she was hired and became a star overnight, and in her first film, Roman Holiday, won the Academy Award.
Now, your association with these people paid off about 20 years ago, right before you gathered for your 50th high school reunion, because you wrote many of them as well as other people you didn't know. Talk about what you did and what you were able to gather for the 50th class reunion 20 years ago.
That was really quite a coup. I'm very proud of that. For 7 months, I wrote as many celebrities as I could find an address for. I had a friend in New York who was very helpful, and there's a book in the library that gives a lot of addresses. And I had responses from, I would say over 50 people, and there were at least that many more from whom I did not get a response, whether they didn't get the letter or weren't interested or what. But I wrote each one of them individually, and it was a different letter for each one, telling them of our 50th class reunion and how we were survivors, and could they please drop us a note and of congratulations about the thing. And you would not believe it, but as you saw in the book, we had a response from the Pope in Rome. We had a response from the Queen of England. We had responses from Elizabeth Taylor and Bob Hope, Arnold Palmer, Burt Reynolds, Clint Eastwood, Gene Autry, and Presidents Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, George Bush, and Clinton.
Clinton, that's
yeah,
right.
Yeah. And we had a response from every president of every major university here in Texas. And the funniest thing about it, I did not get a letter from Herb Reynolds. And after the thing was done, I was having lunch with Herb one day, and I said, I was really disappointed. And then he turned white. He said, what do you mean? And he checked into it, and the letter to him had been misplaced or lost. He did not know about it. And he immediately rectified it by sending me a letter to put in the book, and also some sort of a diploma thing honoring the class for that. But that was funny. But Beverly Sills, Doris Day, Oprah Winfrey, Dan Rather, just so many. And when I was reading these letters to the class at the reunion, they laughed. They thought it was a joke. They didn't think it was for real. But then they did see that it was true. And Cullen Smith and the late Sam Jack McGlasson were so taken with it that they paid to have the letters compiled into a booklet, and they were published and sent to every member of the class who had attended the reunion.
Marvelous, marvelous. Let's go back to the school days for just a moment,
all right,
because you mentioned some of those teachers that you had that stand out. There's also a name, Lyle Skinner. That everybody talks about that man, Lyle Skinner. And you weren't in the band program, you were a theater arts person, but what an amazing man Lyle Skinner probably
He was incredible. He was loved by everyone. His daughter was in our famous class of 1943. We were good friends. I knew his son, who was much younger, but not too well. I knew who he was. And of course, I had met Mr. Skinner a number of times and was around him to a degree, but not musically, because I wasn't in the band. But he was highly respected and highly honored, and is still remembered till this good day by many of us.
Let's sort of sum all of this up and talk about the spirit of Waco High, the Waco High Tiger spirit, and what makes you so proud to be a graduate, not only of the class of 43, but simply a graduate of Waco High School and a Tiger for life.
I feel we were unique. I feel it was mainly because of the war, to go back to that thing, to that time of bonding, of a closeness. And we had a resume book that we put out called Then and Now, and asked all the classmates to send a current picture, and we used the picture from the high school daisy chain, the then and now, with a one-page summary of their life since they had left high school. And reading that book, it makes you so proud when you realize how extremely successful the members of the class have become. They all did very, very well. And I am so proud of the fact that I don't know if WISD is still doing the Distinguished Alumni Program, but the first year it was done, 2 of our classmates were honored. Hank Thompson, the country western singing star, and Merle Alexander, who was head of the physics department at Baylor. Oh, brilliant, brilliant man. Then we had 4 others, so we had 6 all together that were honored by WISD alumni. And I think that's quite remarkable. Some of the others maybe had 2, but not 6 like we did. And I will just quickly say that Gibson Gale and Cullen Smith and Billy Carpenter and myself. And so I'm very, very proud of that. But Waco High School, we had wonderful teachers. We had discipline. We cared because we wanted to get ahead, and you helped each other, and there was just a closeness there. I don't know how it works in schools here now, but there was just, well, as I say, after 70 years, we're still close. And we still bond, and we still have fun talking about the old days. We don't live in the past. We're very aware of the present and the future, but we cherish those memories from the past.
Hate to put you on the spot, but if I were to ask you to sing Spirit of Waco, could you do it right now?
I know the words, but I don't sing. Trust me, people would turn their sets off immediately if they were to do that.
Can you recite the words?
Spirit of Waco, in our hearts so strong, Gladly our voices shout the mighty song. In battle or contest, we'll ever stand by you. Spirit of Waco, to Waco High School true. Yay!
Gives me chill bumps.
Yeah.
I tell you what, that's great. Okay, this video is being seen across Waco on WISD TV. It's also on our website, and we have it on our YouTube channel. So if there are folks out there who are still from the class of 43 who haven't responded yet, what would you want to tell them?
Please call me. I'm in the book. My number is 776-9832. We hope that we can have as many at the reunion as it will be the last one. We hope that we can have that many. If they're from other classes, if they're interested in coming, they're more than welcome. And they will have to pay, unfortunately. The members of the class get in for free, but the others will have to pay, but we'll be happy to have them. And it's a chance for a final get-together and sort of like a last hurrah, as they say. And if anyone watching this program has any questions that I might be able to answer also, they could feel free to call me. I'm in the phone book, but I'd be happy to do that. And I thank you so much for having me here. It's always such fun to go down memory lane and to find someone interested in some of us old folks. Mm-hmm.
Well, Milton Wilson, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Dale.
Appreciate it so much. And they have to call you, right? They can't email you because...
I don't have an email. I don't have a computer. I know nothing about a computer. I'm the only one probably living that is computer illiterate.
No, you can do without one. You've done without one all these years.
We'll try.
Again, this is Milton Wilson from the famous Waco High School Tiger class of 1943, about to celebrate its 70th reunion on April the 25th, right here in Waco, Texas. My name is Dale Caffey. It's been a pleasure to be here with Mr. Wilson. It's being here to represent Waco ISD, where there are learners today and leaders tomorrow. Leaders like the famous Waco High class of 1943.